I know the fight is hard, y'all. I know it's hard to become the best version of yourself. I know it's hard to change and become different and think different and change your environment. Life is hard. We have to just come to that conclusion. It's not supposed to be easy. It's not supposed to be easy. It's supposed to be hard because it's worth it. Because it's worth it. And that's what keeps you going. When life gets hard, the question is, are you getting stronger? ET in there said, right, most people get knocked out because they weren't ready. Most people get knocked out in life because you weren't ready. You weren't ready to be sick. You weren't ready for someone to die. You weren't ready for the financial struggle. Like you just weren't ready. But life is, again, 10% what happens to you, 90% how you react to it. So just because you got knocked down, just because you got knocked out because you were not ready, get yourself up and let's prepare to get ready because it's just going to get harder. You can't keep getting knocked down by not being prepared mentally, emotionally, physically. Like you can't keep getting knocked down and then not get back up and say it's because life is hard. It's because this is a challenge. It's because you aren't working. We aren't getting stronger. This is why the intention that you have behind what you're doing, growing, learning, becoming, right? Like that is the magic. That is what gets you through this thing called life. If you want to go after your ideal life. Again, we all know plenty of people that just skate through. They're happy where they are. They're comfortable at their place. They're comfortable at their job. They're comfortable in their situation. They don't want anything more. God bless them. That's them. For us, the people that want to design our ideal life, you're not okay with where you are. You know you have more in you. You know you have more in store. You know that there's more for God to do in you. Then we have to be intentional about getting back up after we've been knocked down and starting to get stronger. Um, right? I started these calls, y'all, back in the pandemic because it was the first time, kind of in the past, I don't know, 10 years or so, that you could really see how emotionally and mentally weak people really were. A little thing like staying in the house, again, not trying to belittle. I know people passed away. I know that it was a serious time, but the things that were happening in people's mind, I've shown this to you guys. Maverick Carter had said, right, we get to train our nervous system. We get to train our nervous system. So when you train your nervous system knows what to expect and it can regulate itself. He gave an example that said, if an alarm went off right now and it was a loud alarm, there's some people whose nervous system isn't trained that they would start freaking out, like, oh my God, they start running around in circles like they don't know what's happening. Other people who have trained their nervous system for in chaos, they would be calm and say, all right, what do we have to do? Okay, there's the exit, there's the fire extinguisher. That's what was happening in the pandemic. I watched it. I have been training my mind. I've been training my nervous system. So when that happened, I'm like, all right, well, we're at home. Like everyone else around me was like, what? My kid, this, this. And I was like, whoa, calm down. That's going to continue to happen in your life. Are you prepared? Or are you going to be the one freaking out? Are you going to be the one that gets knocked down again in life and can't get back up because you didn't expect it and it got hard? That's not for us. That's not for the people that are going off to design their ideal life. That's why we do this. That's why I encourage you to be intentional every single day. You don't take a day off. In church they used to say the devil don't take a day off, right? Right? Like you can't take a day off from your growth. You can't take a day off from your intentional, right, vision heading towards where you want to go. Because life is going to come to try to knock you out. The enemy's going to come to try to knock you out. The question is, are you prepared? Are you strong enough? Here's some things that I wrote down. Stand guard at the door of your mind. Filter what comes into your mind. This is where it all starts. I try to make this as simple for us adults as possible. so that you can just understand, okay, after all the inspiration and motivation, what do I need to go do? What you need to go do is stand guard at the door of your mind. Filter what you allow into your mind, whether it's from people that are around you, whether it's from the news, whether it's from television, social media, movies, friends, like what is going into your mind? That's where it starts. Your thoughts become things. We become what we think about. As a man thinketh, right? Like, so is he. That's where it all starts. We're transformed by the renewing of our mind. Like, if I could get that message to y'all, it'll be worth it. So what are you letting in your mind? What are you letting in your eye gates and your ear gates? That will determine the rest of your life. It will determine where your thoughts go. It'll determine your beliefs. It'll determine your actions. It'll determine your habits. It'll determine your outcomes. Thoughts. This is why we have to control our thought life. This is why we have to stand guard at the door of our mind. Monitor your inner conversations. Monitor your inner conversations, ladies and gentlemen. That is a big one. Why? Because self-talk is what we run off of. We run off of our self-talk. Most of our self-talk is relatively negative. Most of what we say to ourselves on a daily basis is relatively negative. It's not all the time negative, but you have to know when you start hearing that voice, when you start hearing that doubt, that worry, the I'm talking yourself out of the vision that you have, saying that things are not possible, understanding how hard things are. Like when that becomes your self-talk, we're out of the game, y'all. You talk to yourself. You talk to yourself more than you talk to anyone else. You talk to yourself more than you talk to anyone else. So knowing that, you have to work on your self-talk. We just read that, or we just looked at that. Les Brown has this great quote. He says, if there's no enemy within, the enemy without can do no harm. If there's no enemy within, the enemy outside can do no harm. The only reason the enemy outside does harm is because there's an enemy inside of you. It's you fighting you. It's you and your thoughts. Y'all, this is the game. This is the game. This is not positive think. This is not motivation and inspiration, even though you might get motivated and inspired by it. Like, this is how this works. If you want to go off and if you don't like a part of your life, if there's a part of your life you want to change, if you want to get to success, whatever that means to you, success in your health, success in your finances, success in your business, success in your relationships, success in life, if that's what you want, you have to start understanding these things and applying them to your life. You got to know this is you versus you. We all got some stinking thinking. We all got some negative self-talk. We all got some areas in our life that we are not being intentional about what we're allowing in. And it's causing the life that we have. It's causing the results that we have. You got to know it's up to you, y'all. Growth comes when you get knocked down. The question I wrote down is, has your faith been tested? And are you okay continuing to have your faith tested in all the areas? Are you okay with it? Or was it too hard back 15 years ago when you got your faith tested in that real big trial and test that you got knocked down on? That was like all you could handle. And now we don't want our faith tested anymore. We're like, God, just smooth this thing out. Let me arrive safely at death. I want no more trials, no more. Like, I don't want any more. I'm out, waving the flag. Is that how we think about it? Because that's not going to get you to the life you don't need a break from. What's going to get you there is you getting more mentally tough, more emotionally tough, more spiritually alive so that you can go through this journey. In our text, the 177 Mental Toughness Secrets of the World Class, says champions thrive on world-class self-talk. Just understand, you want to get to the world-class level, you need world-class self-talk. You need to be able to talk yourself into doing things. You need to be able to speak well to yourself. Mel Robbins has the high five theory or five theory or whatever, and she basically said just high five yourself in the morning. Give yourself a high five in the mirror. After you brush your teeth, give yourself a high five. She did some type of study that said like you Your cortisol level or your dopamine levels go up when you're giving someone a high five. Like no one's like depressed and giving somebody a high five. It's actually a movement and a something that our bodies recognize as something that's good. So why don't you give yourself a high five every morning? Man, I'm awesome. Man, today's going to be great. Man, I got it today. What happens is you might start the day like that, and then literally 30 minutes later, your life is haywire, right? Somebody cut you off, your kids started going crazy, and you forget to start the self-talk again, the good part of it. You forget it because that's not your nature. That's why we're course correcting these habits. This is a habit of learning how to do this stuff. Like I've told y'all, waking up with gratitude is a habit. It's not something you always want to do, it's a habit. Habits come from your thinking, right? Your beliefs create your habits. That's why if you want to change habits, you got to change your thinking. Here's what it says in the text. It says self-talk is what we say to ourselves all day long, yet it's also how we say it. For years, philosophers, psychologists, and performance experts worldwide have known about the impact self-talk has on us. That being said, average performers are oblivious to what they are saying to themselves and how it's affecting the quality of their lives. The pros have always been aware of the power of language in programming and reprogramming the human computer. Dr. Shad Helmstetter, in his magnificent book, What to Say When You Talk to Yourself, writes that up to 77% of the average person's self-talk is negative. According to Dr. Helmstetter, we spend our lives talking ourselves into and out of things. Champions believe and embrace this idea. As a matter of fact, the easiest way to know you're in the presence of a champion is to listen to them. The world class has spent years overcoming poor programming, and this process usually begins with the use of language, both with themselves and others. The great ones believe almost anything is possible simply because they have repeated that idea and others like it to themselves for years. To quote Dr. Helmstetter, repetition is a convincing argument. Developing world-class self-talk may be the most powerful of all the mental toughness secrets of the great ones. Like most of the habits, traits, and philosophies in this book, it's so simple that it's often overlooked. As a result, amateur performers continue to perpetuate amateur language with themselves and others. Meanwhile, the great ones create ideas out of thin air, convince themselves achievement is possible, and then go out and make it happen. Repetition is a convincing argument. What are you repeating to yourself? You might not even know it. It says it in here. The average person is oblivious to what even they're saying, what their thoughts are. This is called metacognition. Are you thinking about what you're thinking about? Do you know how to take a thought into captivity? Do you actually know how to do that? Do you know how to say, oh, I'm thinking this thing. That's not a thought that serves me. Let me throw that out. Here's another thought I'm going to think, and then you give yourself another thought. Have you trained yourself how to do that? Have you been intentional enough to know how to capture thoughts in your brain? This is part, again, people say this, it says in there, it's so simple that it gets overlooked. We think that's just how it's supposed to be. No. You control your thoughts. And you can repeat anything you want to yourself. So the question is, what are you repeating to yourself? Because that's what's going to determine the outcome of your life. The action step for today says begin monitoring everything you say to yourself and others. Ask this critical thinking question. Is the way I use this language programming me for success or failure? Every time you have a thought and you start speaking out loud and to yourself, because you are talking to yourself every day. Those are what we call our thoughts, but really it's just you talking to yourself. Ask yourself, is the way I use the language programming me for success or failure? Am I empowering myself or am I speaking death into my life, speaking ill things into my life, not giving myself confidence? Then it says next, begin listening to the way people around you use language. This is an unlock. It'll tell you who to be around. It'll tell you who not to be around. I know some of y'all have real soft hearts. So you really think that people that vent to you and like complain to you and tell you all the stuff, like you're doing a service to them. You're not. You're doing a disservice to yourself. You have to learn how to take a little bit in, cut it off, change the way they think about it. This is something for all of you that have conversations with me on a daily, weekly basis. You know, this is what I do. I'm very good at listening to you, but then I quickly change how you think about things. Because I don't, I may not agree with it. I quickly change it. This is what I've practiced for myself. This is what I'm encouraging you to practice for yourself. It says, ask yourself the same question when you start listening to other people around you. Is their language, the way they're talking, programming you or them for success or failure? This is how we get to the life we don't need a break from. You have to start to understand the messages that are getting in through your eye gates and ear gates are staying in your mind and creating your thoughts, and your thoughts are creating your life. So if you want to change your life, you have to change your thoughts. You know the thesis here, y'all. Change your thinking, change your life. That's the way this goes. I love you guys. I want you to win. This is why I'm tough on you. This is why I push you. This is why I encourage you. I almost guarantee outside of another YouTube video, there's no one in your life that talks to you like this. I almost guarantee it. That's the problem because we're not getting this message enough. We're not repeating it enough. We don't have good self talk because the world gives us the opposite. That's why you got to be intentional about who you're around, what you're listening to, and what you're taking in, and watch how your life changes. Go out, do something that scares you. I want to see you change. I want to see you win. Your families deserve it, but it's on you to go make this thing happen, y'all. I dropped the video in there already, Veronica. I'll drop it in one more time. It's right there. There's the link if you want that video. Go out this Wednesday, do something that scares you. I'll see you guys back here on Friday. Take care.